Picture this: a man stands frozen in a bustling city street, cars honking, people rushing past. But he hears a voice no one else can, a voice warning him to save a stranger's life. This isn't a movie plot, it's David's reality. Welcome to Mysteries Within, where we dive into true stories of human mysteries that challenge everything we know. Today we unravel the enigma of David, a man whose schizophrenia gives him voices that save lives. Are these voices a gift, a curse, or something beyond our understanding? Join us on this thrilling journey into the brain's deepest secrets. We've all had moments when our mind plays tricks. You're walking home, distracted, and suddenly think you hear your name called, only to turn and find no one there, or you're searching for your keys, swearing you left them on the counter, but they're in your pocket. These fleeting glitches are human, but for David the voices are constant, vivid, and sometimes life-saving. In 2005, at 25, David, a lanky man with dark hair and intense green eyes, lived in Cincinnati, Ohio. A former high school athlete, he was now a college dropout, grappling with a mind that felt like a radio tuned to a hidden frequency. A voice, clear, female, unfamiliar, spoke to him, not from the world around him, but from within. David's story begins in 1980, born to a working-class family in Wisconsin. His mother, Ellen, a soft-spoken nurse in her 30s with blonde hair, and his father, Tom, a sturdy factory worker in his 40s, raised David and his three brothers. By age 6, David was curious, excelling at baseball, but he'd sometimes stare into space as if hearing something distant. A 2018 interview with a man named David describes a childhood where odd sensations went unnoticed. By 1998, at 18 starting college, David felt his identity unraveling. He heard whispers, first faint, then commanding, urging him to skip classes or check locked doors repeatedly. A 2007 article by Frederick Fries notes such voices often emerge in late teens, marking schizophrenia's onset. Let's relate for a moment. Ever woken from a vivid dream, convinced you heard someone speak, only to realize it was your mind? That's your brain's auditory cortex, briefly misfiring. For David, these misfires were relentless. In 2000 at 20 he sat in his dorm, the female voice now distinct, saying, "Check the window." He obeyed, finding a loose latch just as a storm hit, preventing a flood. A 2019 study explains that auditory hallucinations affecting 80% of schizophrenia patients stem from a scrambled auditory cortex, where sound frequency maps form chaotically in infancy. David's voices felt real, as if someone stood beside him. By 2002, at 22, David's life spiraled. The voices multiplied, sometimes a stern male, sometimes a chorus, criticizing his every move. A 2024 study found schizophrenia patients have a broken corollary discharge, failing to suppress self-generated sounds, and a noisy efference copy, amplifying unintended noises. David's brain couldn't distinguish his thoughts from external voices. He dropped out of college, moved back home, and isolated himself. Ellen, now in her 50s, worried but hopeful, took him to a psychiatrist. Diagnosed with schizophrenia, David started antipsychotics, which dulled the voices but left him foggy, as described in Elin Saks's. He felt like a shadow of himself. Yet something extraordinary emerged. In 2004, at 24, David, still lanky and haunted, walked through a Cincinnati park. The female voice, calm but urgent, said, "Look left!" He turned, spotting a toddler wandering toward a pond. David sprinted, scooping the child up just before she fell in. The grateful mother, a woman in her 30s with short brown hair, thanked him tearfully. A 2017 article on healthy voice hearers suggests some, like psychics, control their voices, using them productively. David's voice wasn't always kind, but this moment felt like a gift. He wondered, was it coincidence or something more? Let's connect again. Ever had a gut feeling like avoiding a dark alley, only to later hear of trouble there? Your brain's intuition often guides you. For David, the voices were his intuition, amplified. By 2005, at 25, he worked part-time at a grocery store, stocking shelves. The voices persisted, sometimes cruel, calling him worthless. But one day the female voice interrupted, "Help the man in aisle 5. David found an elderly man, gray-haired and frail, clutching his chest. David called 911, saving him from a heart attack. A 2014 study by Tanya Luhrmann notes voices can be benign in some cultures, suggesting context shapes their nature. David's voices, though tied to schizophrenia, seem to sense danger. Science offers clues to this human mystery. A 2012 excerpt from Oliver Sacks's explains that voices aren't always psychotic. They can arise from a hyperactive auditory cortex, mistaking thoughts for external speech. David's brain, per the study, likely had a disrupted tonotopic map, making voices vivid since childhood. In 2006, at 26, David joined a support group, meeting others like Sarah, a woman in her 30s with curly red hair, who heard guiding voices. A 2024 article on the study suggests therapies like transcranial magnetic stimulation could target motor sensory misfires, reducing harmful voices. David learned to negotiate with his voices, asking the kind one for help, as advised in a 2010 article. Life wasn't easy. In 2008, at 28, David, still in Cincinnati, struggled with depression, a common schizophrenia symptom, per a 2011 article. The cruel voices returned, louder when stressed. One night, alone in his apartment, he heard, "You're nothing," but the female voice countered, "You saved lives." Inspired, David volunteered at a community center, teaching kids baseball. A 2016 article on Brandon Chuang, a schizophrenia patient, notes work can stabilize symptoms. David's purpose grew, but the voices never fully left, a reality for 20% of patients, per a 2024 article. Ever misplaced your phone only to find it after a frantic search relieved? David's mind was a constant search for clarity. By 2012, at 32, he lived independently, managing his medication. The female voice guided him again, urging him to check on a neighbor, a man in his 60s with a limp. David found him collapsed, calling paramedics in time. A 2017 study by Philip Corlett suggests some voices reflect heightened pattern recognition, almost predictive. David's brain seemed to detect crises others missed, a strange gift amid his struggle. Science probes deeper. A 2024 article on the study highlights how noisy efference copies in schizophrenia create voices unrelated to intended thoughts. David's life-saving voice might stem from this chaos, randomly aligning with real dangers. A 2012 article by David Eagleman suggests timing errors in brain signals could make thoughts feel external. In 2015, at 35, David, now with faint lines on his face, spoke at a mental health conference sharing his story. Ellen, in her 60s, watched proudly. A 2023 article by Constanza Morin emphasizes collaboration between patients and researchers, which David's openness aided, potentially advancing treatments. By 2018, at 38, David faced setbacks. A job loss triggered paranoia, and the cruel voices surged, accusing him of failure. Yet, the female voice persisted, guiding him to help a stranded driver, a woman in her 20s, during a snowstorm. A 2016 article notes stress worsens voices, but support groups help. David leaned on his community, finding balance. His story, raw and human, challenges our view of schizophrenia. Was his gift a fluke, or a glimpse into the brain's untapped potential? What if your mind spoke to you, guiding you to save lives? Is David's gift a miracle, a brain quirk, or something science can't yet explain? This is Mysteries Within, exploring brain secrets and human mysteries that leave us stunned. If David's story amazed you, hit subscribe for more true stories. What do you think? Are his voices a blessing or a mystery? Share in the comments and watch our next video for another mind-blowing tale. Until then, keep chasing the mysteries within.